On. Okay,
There he is.
can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And the video is going good, okay. All right. Okay, I'm assuming that everybody's on, so let me call up the agenda. Call to order of the Woodstock Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency meeting of August 7th. It's currently 7:06 PM by my computer clock. Kind of a roll call of members present.
Bill Berwinski,
Marla Butts.
Bert Paisley.
And Mark Parker. Okay, the chair recognizes Stuart Peasley as being on the call, so he is appointed as alternate for tonight's meeting. Thank you, Stuart, for keeping us live and active.
You recognize me with my glasses on? That's
Wow.
they're fake glasses though.
Oh, I didn't know if they were the new kind that you can look at something and it'll come up on a map and, computer GPS
Nah,
coordinates.
I'm not there yet, but these are blocking blue light. That's what.
Whoa, all right. Chan, are you sitting in on behalf of the selectmen? You're
No.
I
still,
have an application on the agenda.
I'm sorry?
I'm sitting in because I have an application on the agenda.
Oh, okay, very good. Okay, okay, we'll move on then. We had our roll call, appointment of alternates, action on minutes to the previous meeting. So we had a special meeting on June 12th. Have you all had a chance to take a look at it?
Yeah.
I have a couple of things there.
Okay, Bill, go ahead. You got some edits?
7, administrative business, A. It says 3 lines down, November 11th, 2011. Is that 2011 the correct date? Or was that 2021?
Oh, let's see.
All right. I'll look it up. You think it's 2021?
Well, it's Mr. Bentley we're discussing about, and we don't go back that far, I don't believe in that.
Yeah, that would be 2021, yeah.
It's just a Scrivener's error.
And then what I have, page 2, would be C, section C, under 7. Says contractual ZEO services have risen.
What line?
Well, it might be the first or the second.
First line, yeah.
Is that supposed to be ZEO or is that something else?
I think it's I think it's just a services for the ZEO and wetlands agent. Dan, do you recall what was said?
I believe we were discussing the zoning enforcement officer services,
Okay,
but if wetland services need to be provided by the same company, that their costs have risen since the last time we contracted with someone in that way.
okay. So we could, without listening to the recording, we could just strike out ZEO and just say contractual services have risen. Would anybody have an objection to that?
Okay with me.
It's fine with me.
And
Yep.
let's
I'm
Let's
good.
strike-
Yep.
CEO.
All right.
Bill, do you have anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, I have one. Item D, second line down. And I tried to listen to the recording and I could not find this. The statement starts out on the first line, once the application forms and processes have been completed, comma, which includes a fee schedule, a public hearing will be held, followed by a town vote. No, I don't think anybody ever said there was going to be a town vote. The regulations are the perspective of the Inland Wetlands Agency. And so it should delete after the terms, after the word public hearing, delete the words will be held following a town vote. So I would,
No, what includes the fee schedule and a public hearing,
period,
right?
yeah. So we're
Well,
at the word
And
and,
then the voting is actually done by us.
correct.
We
It's not-
adopt it, yeah,
It's not a town vote, so
yeah.
just knock out will be, add the word and between schedule and a public hearing, and then knock out will be held, followed by a town vote. There's no town meeting required for the Inland Wetlands Commission to change its regulations.
Correct, right.
That's all I found.
Strike town vote. All right, let's,
Do you want a motion to approve or you accept them as read and modified? You
I'll
wanna-
accept the motion to accept as edited.
So moved, Marla Butts.
Second, Bill Rowinsky.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski to accept the minutes as edited in tonight's discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right,
Opposed, abstained, so moved. Okay, very good.
At this point, I would like to add a few items to the agenda.
Go ahead, Bill, where are we
Bill
gonna do this?
Rowinsky, we had a request from Mr. Diorio to add examination of his proposed modifications at Quasit Lake. I don't know, do you need to put that in the new applications or for discussion for afterwards?
I think we would put it under either citizens' comments or administrative business.
Okay,
So probably administrative business. We'll have a discussion on that.
and then along those lines also is 234 West Quasit Road.
So I would suggest that those two items be placed after the discussion on the Woodstock Fair Millbrook erosion mitigation. Would anybody have objection to that, since the other two have been before us before? Mr. Grenier and Mr. Bentley. And Mr. Diorio
Yes.
has come in late, so he gets to stay and listen to everybody else.
Perfect. Thank you.
This is Bill Rowinsky. I move to add those two items to the agenda.
Yep, we will add that and put that in
I second that motion.
as under 7. We will move that to 7D.
And E,
So
What
7D,
happened
7D and E, and that will push the other ones down.
what happened to Ron Petro?
Will that one get moved down? Oh, we'll put it in after that one.
so after E, after D.
After D, okay, yep. So then E and F will not, the new E and F will be the Quasit Road and Diorio projects, so, okay. All right, very good. E and F, rather. Okay. Any other recommendations or edits to the agenda?
I'm fine.
Okay,
You want to vote on that?
yep. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I,
Abstain, opposed, so moved. Okay, nothing under pending applications. Under new applications, Roman numeral 6, letter A. Application 08-23-01, 260 Bungie Hill Road, Chandler, Paquette, tear down and new SFH. Okay, Chan Paquette, Frank Sussingham, just Sussingham.
Marla Butt speaking. Do we have an engineered site plan? Do we have a plan that shows proposed versus existing grades? Or do we just have this sketch? I guess the question is for Mr. Paquette.
No, we do not have an engineered plan, just the sketch, which is all that the health department had on file as well. The issue is that the customer wants a fairly extensive renovation done to the house, but unfortunately it's a slab on grade and all plumbing pipes are underneath the existing slab, as well as 2/3 of the septic tank. So the determination was made that it wasn't worth putting a lot of money into this place to have pipes fail afterwards. So really the best bet is to take it down and put it back up in the same footprint, with the exception of the highlighted area behind the house. The orange area is an 8x10 existing sunroom, and we'd like to expand that to a 12x18. And this project has been approved by Bungie Lake Association.
So has the health department approved the septic design?
It's in their hands now, has been for a few weeks.
Okay. And so you're removing the concrete slab and putting in a brand new one?
We're going to be excavating a 42-inch deep cellar hole so that
Mhm.
mechanicals can be under the house and accessible.
Okay. Any changes in grades?
No.
All grades are to remain existing?
Yep.
And the shed is to remain existing? And the
Yep.
garage is to remain existing?
Correct.
Typically when, my personal opinion, I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but usually when we get a complete rebuild of a house, which is including the foundation, I would like to see as though it were a new home, coming in with survey work, with the proposed versus existing grades, the extent of land disturbance, the septic design, the location of the septic system, the location of the well, as approved through the health department. We don't have to have the health department's approval when the application is received, but we need to get a sense of, what the changes actually are. Now you've provided, this is an unscaled drawing. It doesn't have a scale. It doesn't have a north arrow. All it has is some measurements that say how much footage there is and where the lake is. It doesn't show the property boundaries. Usually those are the things that we get in an application.
Well, the lake is one property boundary, the road is the other boundary, and then that diagonal line to the lower right-hand side is the other property line.
But it's because it's a complete rebuild. Usually I would ask for a site plan that was, drawn up that shows what the design was for the septic system and proposed grades. If there's no grade changes, that'll show up on the proposed. I don't know what the slopes on this property are. I don't know where the septic system is going to go.
Recording in progress.
What was that about, Dan?
Someone just joined the meeting, and I think it was their message echoing through ours.
They should mute themselves then until they're ready to talk. So everybody, like Mr. Bentley is not muted, he should mute himself until he's ready for the discussion for him.
So has a design plan of the building been submitted to the building inspector so that he, Dan, are you gonna inspect that later when it's
I need
built?
to get through wetlands and zoning and the health department before I can submit my building permit.
Okay.
Building permit, will that require a site plan?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Will the building permit require a site plan?
No.
Well, I would like, this is Bill Rowinski, I would like to have a site plan, because I don't know where the footprint of the new house is gonna be in relation to the existing house and where the septic system is going.
The plan is to not change the septic system. We're just moving the septic tank away from the house so it's not under it as it currently sits.
And traditionally, we would also like to see contour lines to see what the slope is, you know, what we're working on here. So,
And unfortunately, the town's GIS program only has 5-foot contour intervals. So we really can't tell what the topography is using the town's GIS. If it had 2-foot LiDAR, then we might be able to do something a little better, but right now we can't because of the limitations of the town's GIS.
Does it show, do you happen to know where the well is located?
It shows it.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I see.
you know, if there's gonna be any disturbance of the ground, we wanna know and see that you're gonna have ENS controls up on the lower slopes of the slope, et cetera. So that's
You
kind
did-
of what we're looking at.
He does show a silt fence, but I can't tell which way the slope is going because I don't have the contours.
Right.
I'm guessing that it slopes down to the lake.
Correct.
And that's a appropriate assumption, but that's why we have site plans for these things, because if there's a future issue down the road, we actually have what the drawing says.
I have a question about this. This is actually an interesting situation. The sketch is above average for most of the applications that are generated by homeowners and stuff. So from that standpoint, it may not be complete, but would it be possible, since right now, every civil engineer is swamped that I know, they're going to be busy. If the applicant is in a hurry to get this done, it's going to be uphill to find someone that can help him generate those site plans. Would it be possible for an applicant to undertake providing that kind of information with GIS mapping and whatever resources are available? Just a question.
Not what the town has for GIS. It's 5-foot contour intervals. You can't tell anything going on with a 5-foot contour.
One thing I've found lately is that you can get, by purchasing a more detailed contour, you can get aerial surveys, but they cost. You have to pay for them. So that would be a possibility. I haven't done that myself. I've seen it done.
I think anytime we've seen a home, which I would consider this, even though there's an existing home there and they claim it's going to be in the same footprint, exact same footprint. There's no dimensions on this. This is not a scale drawing. We would make any other applicant come in with a site plan to build a new home. This is basically creating a new home. It's putting it in the same spot as the existing home, but it's a new home. So we would make anybody else come in with a site plan. So I don't see why this would be any different. Because if we do it this time, we'll have everybody and his brother who wants to do a rehabilitation and replace their home to come in with.
No, I understand. It sets a precedent. But one thing I'm thinking is that probably the difference is that we just require it be done by a licensed professional. And that's my question, is if somebody has the skills to produce that we would have to say, no, it has to be done by a licensed professional.
Typically, yes, we have. I don't think we've received any new homes with sketches. Even though this is an existing home, remember, you're replacing it. So it's basically like a new home, but it's on an existing footprint.
Yeah, so the drawing has to be done third party.
Correct. Well, if the applicant
Right,
was
third.
an engineer, that it wouldn't have to be third party.
Correct.
They're
Third
also,
licensed party.
the licensed engineer is also putting their license on the line when they do it.
Oh, I know that story very well.
So, Mr. Peckett, Chandler, I would suggest withdrawing this application and resubmitting it after there's an appropriate site plan done
Okay.
by a professional engineer. That's the best advice. I mean, you can proceed with it, but I would recommend denial for inadequate information in the application, insufficient information. I think once you do a site plan, I think that will clear all that up and it'll be very easy. It'll be a wetlands agent approval. And hopefully we'll have a wetlands agent at that time. I expect we will.
Your next meeting would be September 12th.
September 11th. First Monday or second Monday?
First Monday, but.
First Monday is September.
Labor Day
4th.
is the first.
Yeah,
Monday.
so it's the second. It's the second Monday.
September 11th.
Mhm.
September 11th will be the next wetlands meeting.
Okay, I'll doubt I'll have it together, but I'll do my best.
So are you willing to withdraw this application at this time?
Yes,
Thank you. You've already paid a fee for this?
yep.
So I would move that should a new application, a replacement application come for 260 Bungie Hill Road, be resubmitted, that the application fee be waived.
I second the motion.
I guess the only question I would ask, could we just state that the current fee that was paid be applied to that? Or I don't know, I'm just.
It's just as easy to say it's waived. I think
okay.
we have the authority to waive the fee
Yeah.
since it's already been paid.
Okay. Motion's been made by Marla Butts to waive the application fee for a resubmittal on this project. Do I have a second?
Second,
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, abstained, so moved. Okay, Chan, put it together and we'll waive the second submittal.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Under new applications, Roman numeral 6, item B. Application 08-23-02, 90 Barlow Cemetery Road, Anthony Cummins Garage. Okay. So, do we have Anthony with us tonight?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So. Does the commission have any questions for Anthony?
Yeah, Bill Rowinski, except for the driveway to the new garage, is the rest of the driveway already existing?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you said you weren't going to put any plumbing in there. Were you planning for electricity?
Not at the time. I mean, it's just cold storage only. Put a couple tractors in, a couple pickup trucks of my own just to keep them out of the weather, and that's about it. I mean, maybe later on down the road in the future, I might plan on it. I'm not sure, but as of right now, no.
Okay, I was just questioning that because of you're doing underground utilities, then we would want to see that.
Okay, understand.
So I take it there's no work in wetlands or water courses. It's all just work in the upland review area. Am I correct?
Correct.
Then this can be processed as a wetlands agent approval. I would move that application 08-23-02 for 90 Barlow Cemetery Hill Road. Anthony Cummins for garage be processed as a wetlands agent approval approved by the agent.
Second by Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butch, seconded by Bill Rowinski to shift this application as a wetlands agent approval. Application 08-23-02, 90 Barlow Cemetery Road. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, so moved.
All right, thank you.
All right,
You're welcome.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, under new applications, Roman numeral 6, letter C, application 08-23-03, lot 18, lot 18, Old Hall Road, Evan Renaud and culvert for existing driveway. Okay, so we have an existing driveway. And is this a continuous flowing brook that we're going over, or is it a?
Kind of through wetlands. There's an existing,
wetlands.
existing farm road through there.
Yeah,
That's Bill Rowinski talking.
thank you, Bill.
But according to the drawing, they want to upgrade the road. They want to place fill. According to what I'm seeing on on the site plan done by J&D, sheet 1. Am I incorrect that there's going to be improvements, a raising of the grade? So there probably will be some filling in wetlands, actually.
Daniel, I think did you address that in one of your letters? We can't hear you, Daniel.
Daniel, are you there? We can't hear you. It doesn't say he's muted.
Maybe he stepped away.
No, he's there. I
Oh,
see
okay.
him. He's waving his hand. He's talking,
Oh,
but
okay.
we can't hear him. Now he's just muted. Now he's unmuted. Nope, still can't hear you. Nope. I had to turn my speaker on my laptop. I had it muted at the laptop. At the keyboard. Oh, he wants to have a minute of time to see if he can figure it out.
Yeah, so do we want to move this, put this one on hold and move to the next application?
If he has no objection, we'll give him a chance.
Okay.
Somebody's
All right,
screen.
well-
Okay.
We'll do that, Dan. I'm gonna go to the next application, and once you get connected, we'll come back to you. Okay. So we'll go to letter D then, which is application 08-23-04, 41 Hiawatha Heights. Sugato Mitra, retaining walls. Okay. Did I get that pronunciation right?
I'm Unfortunately, that would be Daniel's project also.
Oh, no, I can see you. Your mouth is moving, but I hear no sound.
I'm gonna suggest, Daniel, that you back out of Zoom and come back in and see if that fixes it. And we can move on to the next one while he's doing that.
Or, yeah, or you could always call in with his cell phone and,
Yeah, we've had to do that before,
yeah,
using the passcode and the phone number.
okay. Let's see.
Mark, I'm gonna suggest that we move on, and when you see him come in again
Yep,
into the, or Dan, when you see him enter back in, then we can go back to the agenda as the regular agenda.
yep, let's do that. So we'll move on to administrative business, a discussion of 399 Roseland Park Road grading. Grenier,
I'm here.
okay, Mr. Grenier is on and live audio.
Yeah, at least you got me.
That's right.
So, Mr. Grenier, I see your drawing that you put, you have two areas where you want to kind of scrape off the high ground, but you don't say where you're going to put it, where you're going to take that material. Because I think originally the concept was there'll be no net loss in flood storage. So you were going to take it from an area that was maybe a little higher ground and you were going to put it over next to the house, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but your drawing doesn't show where you're gonna place the fill that you're taking out. So how much cubic yardage did you figure you were gonna move?
I'm gonna say what I'm scraping out, maybe 30 or 40 yards
Mm-hmm. And where are you gonna,
at the most.
and where are you gonna put that?
Where I've put the berm from the leach field surrounding the back part of the property to keep the water out, I'm just going to use it over there.
And you haven't shown that on your drawing where that is. Is that berm actually in wetlands or is that in your non-wetland portion?
It's not in the wetlands. It's right on the border of it.
Okay. So if you, I don't have any objection if you can modify your drawing to show that you're not filling any wetlands, that you're just doing work in the upland review area based upon this drawing, and you can take the measurements because this was a scaled drawing, correct?
No, it's not to scale exactly. It's darn close, but it's not 100% to scale. That's why you see all the numbers on there, telling you, the dimensions of where I'm going to be working.
Right.
So this map comes from the land records, correct? It's map 2509 from the land records?
Yes, that does, yes.
Yeah. So the question is can you obtain the full size, a copy of the full size drawing and use that as your application drawing?
That's not what you asked me to do a month or 2 months ago. You just said to me, since you were a contractor and you know how to do elevations,
Yeah.
give me a drawing of the area that you want to scrape out.
Right.
That's what I provided you with, Marla.
Right, so you've got 16 inches off of one area and 10 inches off of the other. So which area one is the 118 by 24? Area two is the 60 by 16?
Yep,
Is that correct?
yep.
So your cross section, your AA cross section would be, I'm trying to understand where you're taking it from and where you're putting it to. So,
Well, I say it's very simple. I'm basically taking two high spots.
Yep.
Alls I'm trying to do is once the water in the brook recedes
mhm,
and the field starts to drain out,
mhm,
those two high spots
mhm,
hold a bunch of water until either evaporates in the air or drains into the ground. And
Mhm.
all I wanted to be able to do is drain those two areas by lowering those two spots. When you get to the back part of the property from Muddy Brook, about 50 or 60 feet in, there's a low spot. And all I'm doing is swaling those two areas to that low spot, and then the remainder of the water will drain into Muddy Brook. I mean, I'm not taking out a ton of area there. And I mean, I did put one area down that I would have to take out about 16 inches. That 16 inches would end up being probably about 4 feet wide, because I'm going to swale the whole thing, because basically those two fields, Spalding's field and my field, they get hayed. And if I don't swale the thing out where it's comfortable for the tractors to go in and out of there, they won't be able to do anything there. So go ahead.
Where is this swale that you're talking about? Is it between 1 and 2? That you're,
Basically, all I'm trying to do is right between those two high spots, you have low spots.
Right.
And the low spots is what holds the water.
Right.
Actually, when he was here 2 weeks ago, if you were to go by my house now, you will see that he hayed right around those wet areas, because what he doesn't want is he doesn't want to ruin the land by sinking in with the tractors. And what ends up happening is from Spalding's property, there's an area there that is a flood zone, and it basically comes back towards Roseland Park Road, and it swings around onto my property. And the water just kind of collects on his property and then on my property. And by removing those two high spots, I mean, they're not that high, but the two high spots, that will create a level area for the water to run back into Muddy Brook. And hopefully, I'm not saying, I'm not an expert when it comes to construction equipment, but I would like to hopefully get 95% of the water to be able to drain back into Muddy Brook. And what I'm taking out of there in one area is basically going to be the grass that's growing. I'm not going down that far. And in the other area, it's going to be you know, give or take 12 to 16 inches. I put 16 because I figured if you guys approve 16 and I go less than that, that's better. And that area there, I'm only going to take out probably about, to get to the low spot, probably about 50 or 60 feet away. So what I'm taking out of there is probably going to be a 30-yard dump truck, you know, a triaxle dump truck. I don't think it's going to be a heck of a lot more than that. And probably what I'll end up doing is, rather than just take that material and put it over where I'm building the retention wall, where when you told me to cease and desist, where I dug the hole, that hole is approximately 12 by 12 by 4. I'll take the material and throw it in that hole and fill the hole back in. You know, I can do that.
Yeah, so I'd be okay with you taking the current map numbered 2509 and kind of showing us that shaded area where you're gonna refill that hole. And then also take a, you know, a pen or a pencil and kind of use like a hash marking and, you know, and show us where on the inside of that dashed line that you have that goes around the house. Because like that dashed line clearly shows me that, you know, the wetland is, you know, eastward of that dashed line. And you're not going to be putting any fill in there. You're going to be building up the berm that you started, which is located probably somewhere between 5 and 6 feet inside that dash line. So if you would just draw in and show us where you're going to be putting some more of that material that you're excavating from area 1 and area 2. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, my thought is, what's the purpose of that? What, as long as I am not taking any material and moving it from one flood zone area or one wetland area and putting it in another, if I'm removing it entirely, or the hole that I got dug is in the flood zone, that's why we're going through all of this. If I just basically take that dirt and fill that hole in, now I'm bringing it back up to the original way that it was. I just don't see the purpose in having to explain what I'm going to do with that material. I just don't see the purpose of that.
Well, the purpose is when we ask anyone for an application and they're going to be excavating anything out of the, you know, the wetland, we always ask them, please show us either on the map or in the project description where that material is going to be either disposed of. You know, is it going to be taken off site or is it going to be put in a specific area? So,
okay,
but,
again, I don't mean to be a pain in the butt. Why wasn't that told to me a month or two ago? And I would have done that. You know, I wrote down as Marla spoke and said, you know, rather than us going out to the property, since you were a contractor, blah, 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 I wrote down what she wanted.
Mhm.
And I did that. And, you know, now, for no better choice of words, I'm being jerked around again. And to me, I don't think that's fair. You know, this has been going on for over a year now. You know, when I asked you people last fall, come on out, I'll show you what I'm planning on doing. And basically it was left where, well, we're getting back into the wetlands. The holidays are around the corner, which I understood all of that. It's tough to get 4 people together all at one time sometimes. I understood all of that. And then when springtime came around, early summer came around, and I was before you people, then I was told, do a drawing.
Mhm.
Why wasn't I told to do the drawing last fall? I just feel as though I'm being jerked around, and again,
We've been trying to guide, and we do this with a lot of other folks who come before the commission as well. That,
you must have a lot of people that get awfully aggravated.
well, yeah, but and our wetlands agent is also instructed to work with them and to help them, fill out, what information we need to have in applications. So, yeah, I know we've all been, you and us, we've been working a little extra hard trying to make sure that we get everything, get all the information that we need to make a decision and an approval. And again, I apologize if we didn't, remember everything all at the very beginning. I guess as we've been working through this, we've been trying to, help you walk through it all. We're not jerking you around. We're just trying to help you, after all this, you might be able to do this application for somebody else.
Well,
I know what needs to be done.
So,
Something I told you folks when I first started doing this, I only have a certain time of the year that I can get in there and work because I got an old dog of a backhoe, okay? It will do the work, but it's 2-wheel drive. If you got tractors that have 6-wheel drive that don't even want to drive in there, then it's wet. The only time I have to really work in there is late June, if I'm lucky, July, and probably maybe till the end of August. And then forget it till the next year. Even if you put a piece of equipment in there on tracks, they're probably going to sink 3 feet. So, I'm looking now at, by the time I resubmit this, the rest of this year is gone.
so
And now I've lost another year.
Mr. Grenier, I'd like to interrupt you for a second. July was the highest amount of rainfall ever, number 5, since the recording of records. The flood of 55 was the highest month in August that year, in 55. This year in July, we've had more rain than any other year. It's the 4th record in the history of all that we have, 4th or 5th, I can't remember which one. We had an excessive amount of rain in July, so you probably couldn't have done your work in July anyways because of all the rainfall we had.
Now, wait a second, Marla. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to make excuses?
No.
What
I'm trying to say to you is that
no, you're trying to make excuses, Marla. That's what you're trying to do. You cannot predict what Mother Nature is going to throw at you.
That's correct.
I understand that, but typically, I'm talking typically, okay? And what I just heard you say, Marla, I'm sorry, but you know something? It sounds like you're trying to make excuses.
No, I'm not. I'm not. What I will do is
we could talk about the heat too.
What I will do is I will provide to Dan an aerial photography that has topography on it, and it can show your house, it can show the low-lying lands, it can show the river, and you can use that to draw on it where your berm is, where your fill is going, where your stuff is taking out, And you'll have we have another meeting in September. The groundwater, will be still low at that point in time. There won't be haying going on at that time, because in the summertime you have haying. I've driven by your property a number of times. I don't see how what you're proposing, to be honest with you, is going to dry those floodwaters out any faster. The problem is next to the brook, because there is a piece of high ground next to the brook that doesn't allow those wetlands to drain easily. But you're not proposing to alter those. So if you want to take some of the excess material that's on the higher ground in the 100-year floodplain and move it to another location in the 100-year floodplain that's outside of wetlands, I don't have a problem with that. I just want to have a good diagram saying this is what you're doing. So I will get to Daniel, to Dan Mail, a PDF of a photo of a aerial photograph with 2-foot LiDAR topography that shows your house, shows the fields, and you can draw on that map, on that photograph, where it is you're going to take the material out, where you're going to put it, so the commission can see that in a photograph. Because that.
Let me ask you this, Marla.
Yep.
How in God's name? Now, you don't know this, but I'm going to tell you before I continue on. I was a building inspector, okay? So tell me something. How in God's name does a building inspector approve a plan to put an addition on a house being within 100 feet of wetlands and within 150 feet of flood zone, and you have the pictures that I showed you? How does a building inspector approve doors ground level? You know how that gets approved? Dumb. Absolutely dumb.
I look at your house.
Now, wait a minute, Marla. I'm not done. Now, I am trying to correct what your town building official screwed up from day one, because he was a friend of the Spaldings, and I even have somebody that was a witness that questioned right in front of the building inspector. How come you're letting my brother put doors at ground level, being so close to a flood zone? That was dumb. You do your job the right way, and friendship doesn't come involved. When friendship becomes involved, you have cases like this.
So let
And
me
you
ask you,
know,
if you were a building inspector, and you bought this house and you saw the lay of the land, wouldn't it have come to your mind that there might be a problem with this house when you bought it?
I figured that I could correct it. I didn't think it was going to be an act of Congress to do it. I have other ways that I can go about doing this. I'm trying to do it the civilized way. And I hope that's the way it can be done. You give Dan that information. I will get it from Dan. I will submit another plan to you, and hopefully we will be done after the next time.
Thank you for your cooperation. I do appreciate it. I know this is very frustrating for you, and I'm sorry that it is.
You know, and I hate to, you know, I'm half deaf, so I'm probably screaming, and I think I'm only talking right now, but I'm just so damn aggravated with how long I've been going through this. I was in business. I had to deal with wetlands and things of that nature. And yeah, okay, would it take 2, 3, maybe 4 months? Yeah, it would, but it wouldn't take over a year. I had bridges put in over brooks that took a third of the time this did. You know, so that's why I'm aggravated, because to me, it's just taken way, way too long. And I apologize to all you people for yelling and screaming, but I'm just aggravated.
Well, I apologize for having caused you
You
aggravation.
don't have to,
Wasn't
you
our
don't have
intent.
to apologize. You know, you
It
weren't the
wasn't.
one you had agreement, it was me. All right, Marla, get that information to Dan. I'll get in touch with him, like next week. I'll go in, I'll get that information. I'll draw it up to the best of my ability. But I just want you folks to remember one thing. All I'm trying to do is to protect my house from being flooded because of a screw up.
Right.
And no one is going to convince me otherwise, because I've already talked and had a state building inspector out here. And you know what his response was to me? Somebody knew somebody. Because he even said to me, he said, those doors should have been a minimum of 4 feet off the ground. He says, I know why those doors were put at that level, because it would have changed everything in the addition that the homeowner didn't want to do. But that doesn't make it right.
Right.
So we got to move on. We got to try to find a way to hopefully solve this problem. You know, I don't know. I could build a wall 30 feet high and maybe somewhere down the road, water will go over that. We don't know.
Yeah, I just,
Okay.
yeah, thanks, Mr. Grenier. And, you know, I understand and hear your frustration. I guess I just want to just leave you with one final word of encouragement. In my mind, we're like looking at the finish line right now. We're looking at the tape, we're leaning into it. And all I wanted was just a little more information about when you scrape off zone 1 and 2, where's it going? And I just, that's all, that's the only last little, for me, from my perspective, as a commissioner reviewing this application or this issue, is I just want to know, okay, where's the fill gonna go? That we're almost there. That's all we need.
Yeah. You know, I know, you know, I always used to tell my guys, use your head for what it was put on your shoulders for. It wasn't put on there for a hat rack. It was put on there because it's got brains in it. So use it.
Right.
I would not take fill out of one area and put it right back in another wetland or flood zone area. That would be
Right.
dumb.
Right.
That would be dumb. But I know for the town's protection, you have to see it on paper. Now, the town is protected. I just wish, you know, like I said, last month or the month before, when Marla said, draw up, give me an elevation view. I wish she would have just, you know, and I know you can't remember everything every darn time you talk to somebody, but I just wish that would have been told to me back then. And that's why I said, I just feel as though I'm being jerked around. And maybe it was just a mistake on her part. You know, I mean, the last person I knew that was perfect was my father-in-law, and he's been dead for 10 years. So I don't know any other perfect person. So I'm not saying Marla's got to be perfect. So I'll get that information from Dan. I'll submit it to you. And hopefully the next time we speak, it's going to be a lot more subtle and peaceful.
Right. Thank you.
Mark,
I just
Shortly
wanted to-
here.
Bill
Mark,
Rowinski.
can I make a suggestion?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Red.
Is it possible to do a conditional approval if he provides that drawing? I don't see any doubt that he won't provide that drawing. Why can't we?
You know,
Why can't we give him?
I appreciate what you're saying to try to get me the time to be able to do it this year. But my old dog is still in the repair shop. The parts are not due into sometime this month. So I think I still got another month before I would even have the backhoe back. So, you know, I appreciate what you were trying to do, but I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
I'll submit the paperwork. And, if I can get this approved next month, if I have the backhoe back, I'll probably have just gotten it back, and we'll deal with it from there. I mean, if I'm just to the point now that if I don't get to it this year, hey, good things come to people who are patient.
That's right. Amen.
So, we'll just hopefully I don't drop dead before everything happens. That's all. All right, folks, I'm gonna let you go on to your other business. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk next month.
Before
right,
you
thank
go,
you.
before you go.
Before you
still
go,
there?
Yep.
Just one other detail is if you were taking we would need to know if you were taking the dirt off site, because there would be certain conditions that would have to be met
no.
for that, because we can't take the
No,
wet dirt down the road.
Yeah, no dirt is going off site because if anything, I need more material.
Yeah,
So,
I understand that, but that's part of this process of establishing where the dirt's going on paper before we give our approval, to make sure that nothing's going down the road that's going to create problems.
I think if you guys have no objection to it, the hole that I've already dug, I think I would just like to take that material I scrape out, and if not fill the hole in completely, fill the hole in at least 2/3, because should one of the tractors happen to, slip and not see the hole and end up going into the hole, it'll be a much softer landing if they only drop 2 feet rather than 4 feet.
right?
Yep.
So I think that's where I would like to take that material, is just fill the hole in that is there and done with it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right,
All
very
right.
good. Dan will work with you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night, folks.
You too.
Bye.
You too.
Okay.
Did Daniel Blanchett finally get his speaker?
Dan Blanchett, are you audio live yet?
I really hope so.
Yes, yay, I hear you.
Yay.
Can
Stole
you
my
hear me
wife's
now?
laptop. Sorry about that.
So, okay, so can we go to application 08-23-03, lot 18 Old Hall Road?
Yes.
Okay. Any of the
So-
commission members have any questions?
At the point where we started to question Daniel, Marla was speaking about probable fill to raise some of the grade. And Daniel was going to address that.
Yes, so
Yeah.
how much wetlands was going to be filled by raising the grade of the driveway and put the culverts in?
I have a note on that on the site plan. It's 2,520 square feet of total wetland disturbance. Could it be possible to share my screen?
Well, it is in front of us right now.
Okay.
But he can control where the cursor goes, so he can explain it to us if he can screen share.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, I'm going to try it. Can someone else stop their screen sharing?
Yeah,
please?
Dan, there we go.
Thank you. All right, try this. Cool. All right.
There we go.
All right, so everyone, here's the site. It's lot 18 off Old Hall Road. It's just north of Route 171 here. This is the GIS for the town. I have the wetland soils turned on, and you can see there's kind of a valley here of wetlands that drain south. It goes under a 36-inch pipe here at Route 171, and eventually it joins Mill Brook. That's Mill Brook flowing right through here. So I wanted to show this kind of just as a big picture. There's really 2 main drainage patterns that I'm worried about. There's this wetlands through here that we want to cross. There's also a lot of water coming off this road here that kind of ends right at our driveway. I'm going to try and stop sharing this and share the site plan real quick. No, that's not it, sorry. Site plan. Can you see the site plan?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, so as you saw in the aerial, there's an existing cornfield here at the center of the site where the applicant is proposing to build a septic system as road. There's an existing driveway, a dirt driveway, again, that crosses the wetlands here in the middle. The wetlands were delineated by Margaret Washburn. But obviously we want to improve that driveway for residential applications. Westview Drive comes down, and I think all or most of the road drains into 2 catch basins. And then those catch basins discharge really right here above our driveway. And so I'm proposing to, there's a little bit of fill at the beginning of the driveway, about 3 feet of fill. We have to have a 5% slope at the entrance. There's going to be a catch basin here to capture the runoff from Westview Drive and then shoot it under the road. And then it can sheet flow naturally into the wetlands. And again, I want to take that water and push it off downstream of the proposed culvert. A little bit of fill here, 6 inches of fill here, maybe. Again, a little bit of fill here, just as we're wrapping around, not too much. And then you can see right here, we are proposing to install. Yeah, 2 24-inch culverts here to convey that flow through the wetlands under the driveway. We have done a drainage model here. It's about 30 acres of drainage area. The culvert has been sized to pass the 25-year storm and still have a foot of freeboard. Again, let's make it so. This has the septic sheet. Sheet number 2 is the septic sheet. There are some wetlands. There's a little pocket up to the northeast of the development. And again, here you can see the upland review area. So we're staying outside of that. And really all the house construction that's outside the upland review area. Here's a cross or profile of the driveway that I think is pretty helpful. Again, you can see the road up here. We want to have 5% at the beginning. So there's a little bit of fill. Not much fill, about a 15% slope. We are recommending that it be paved, or requiring that it be paved due to how steep it is. Some fill here. Here's the 2 culverts, the twin 24-inch culverts, and then we're going to come back up to the house site at 12%. Let me see if I can share my little narrative here as well. Okay, can people see this, these pictures?
Yep.
Okay, so here's some photographs of the existing wetland crossing. Again, you can see it's a very rough dirt road. There's no drainage, there's no pipes, and water does just, you can see a little bit of water does just sheet flow over the existing driveway. That's the driveway looking east towards the house site. Here's the driveway again looking west back towards the road. You see just a little bit of water flowing over the road here. Here is the drainage area. Again, it's kind of the eastern side of this road, this development, and a little bit along these high points, and it all kind of drains into this wetland that comes under our driveway here. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a couple for you, Daniel.
Of course.
So the first question I have, so the current access way is basically sheet flow across it, correct?
Correct.
So the twin culverts that you're proposing, what storm size, assuming there's no obstruction of them, what storm size will they pass? What's the design storm for the driveway?
So right now we modeled the 25-year storm. And these culverts can handle the 25-year storm with still a foot of freeboard. Again, the high water level, it would go over the pipes briefly, but it wouldn't cross the driveway. You'd have a foot under the driveway. For a 50-year storm, there would be about 6 inches of freeboard with the driveway. And for a 100-year storm, the driveway would be overtopped during the peak flow.
Okay. So did you ever, what are the exit velocities for the twin culverts? I think it's a great idea. Normally, I don't suggest multiple culverts because they can tend to clog and fill. But this is an area that didn't have concentrated flow. Apparently, it doesn't look like it did. It was more sheet flow across. So if you concentrate the flow, you end up getting erosion downstream because now you've concentrated all the water to one location. Do you know what the exit velocities are for the discharge for those two pipes, and will the receiving land remain stable, or should there be some sort of energy dissipator at those outfalls?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Great question. So we did model this with our fancy civil engineering software. And right now we're predicting the downstream velocity is 9.7 feet per second. And so we have some riprap. Again, we're specifying the larger riprap, the regular riprap at the entrance, a little pad to slow that down and prevent erosion. And again, as you said, there's not really a well-defined channel. So we felt it was most appropriate to have 2 smaller pipes that are spread apart.
So that's on your detail sheet, your culvert detail. It looks like you've got standard riprap at the downstream end. Is that correct? That's sheet 3 of 3.
Correct, yeah, 10-foot riprap apron of standard riprap at the exit.
Okay, so would that act as a level spreader?
Exactly, I think that will serve to slow down the water and prevent any downstream erosion.
Okay. That's all the questions I had. So this is an individual permit application because there's actually fill-in wetlands. And this is a new application, so the commission can't render a decision today anyways. And unless there's additional information that the other commission members want, I'm satisfied with it. So it would have to wait till it comes back next month before any decision could be made on the application.
So we can receive this for consideration at next month's meeting.
Correct.
So just a few points to, just a few minor details. And Daniel, in your letter, you, second page, you're talking about elevations of 470 and 472 feet, and I believe you probably talking more in the 570s. So that's 100 feet difference, but it looks like you're doing everything in the 570s.
Yes, yeah, 573.
Okay,
That's a typo.
That's a typo, yeah, sorry about that.
okay, just a point.
Make a note of that.
Yeah.
Daniel, are these elevations NGVD or NAVD, or are they based on a benchmark?
Yeah, it's the latest datum, the
1988.
NAVD 88.
Yeah, okay. I move that we accept application 08-23-03, lot 18, Old Hall Road, Evan Renault, for construction of a driveway to a new home.
Second by Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski to accept for consideration application 08-23-03. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, so moved. All right, Daniel,
Thank you for your time, everyone. I'll see you next month.
Oh, you
I
got
guess
another.
Same one.
are you doing application 08-23-04? 41 Hiawatha Heights.
Go 3 for 3. So yeah, so this, again, I'm gonna try and share my screen real quick. If everyone does it. All right, so again, here's 41 Hiawatha Heights on the shores of Lake Bungie. There's an existing retaining wall along most of the shore, and there's no drainage behind this wall. It's starting to tilt out into the lake. And so we're proposing to add some drainage features here for the existing wall, and then we're proposing to replace, there's kind of a boulder slope here, a rock revetment that we're proposing to replace with the retaining wall as well. Let me go to my site plans.
Looks like these pictures, like the lake has been lowered, so we're seeing a lowered lake here.
Correct, yeah, this survey was done over the winter when the lake is quite low. Can people see this document?
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh.
Yeah,
Actually, wait,
see the letter. Yeah,
that's the letter. Let's go to the site plan. Sorry. Site plan, here we go. Share the screen. Site plan. Can people see that site plan?
yes.
Yes.
So this is, again, this is a site plan for what we're proposing. In the upper left corner, this is, again, kind of the aerial view, the site plan. You see Hiawatha Heights, the existing house, the driveway. Here's the existing leach field. And then you can see this concrete retaining wall that extends, it's about 125 feet long along the shore. This wall is about 4 feet high, 10 inches thick. It's made of poured concrete, and it's really starting to tilt into the lake. Again, there's no kind of drainage that we can detect behind this wall. And so over the years, it's a fairly old wall. The water builds up and it starts to push that wall out into the lake. Again, and at the northeast corner here, there's some loose stones, a rock revetment, a boulder slope that we are proposing to replace with a concrete block retaining wall. All this work will be done at the low season, you know, when the lake is lowered. We don't expect to do any work within the water. There will be silt fence installed, again, just downhill of any construction. Also on the site plan, we have a couple other things. Now, this is a cross section of the pond. This kind of shows some of the drainage features that we're proposing to add. Here you can see the wall. I don't know if you can see it. It's starting to lean to the left into the lake. And we want to do a couple things. Due to the proximity of the leach field, we can't install a perforated pipe. We can't have any subsurface drainage. We need to have at least 25 feet per the health code, and we don't quite have it here. And so we can't do anything underground. So we're kind of coming at it from a different angle. We're proposing to, and again, here you see the existing lawn. It slopes right down to the wall, and then the wall actually sticks up above the lawn. And I have some pictures later I can show everyone, but you can really see that everything from this whole property is just sheet flowing and then piling up against this wall. And so we really want to do a couple of things. We want to regrade this yard a little bit and have a gentle swale, a very gentle swale that will drain to the east. It's going to have some clay and silt soils underneath it, again, to try and reduce infiltration and promote sheet flow. And then, of course, we'll spread topsoil, we'll loam and seed it, and that will all flow to the east and then just kind of sheet flow into the woods and eventually into the lake. We're also proposing to add some pervious backfill behind the wall. So we're going to be excavating in this area. We're going to add in some crushed stone, some crushed concrete, something that's not too heavy, but has a pretty large diameter size, again, to promote infiltration, promote again, flow through that. And then we're going to drill a few weep holes in the wall so that, again, we're going to handle a lot of the surface runoff is going to be captured here, directed away. and then water that's already gone into the soil will be allowed to bleed through the wall. And so I'm hoping that that will prevent any future displacements, rotations, and I think it's a much less invasive or intensive repair as opposed to ripping out this whole thing. That was kind of what my client had wanted to do, and I talked him out of it. Again, it's not leaning so much that it would be a danger. It's not unstable. It's not at risk of collapse. But there is the top overhangs by about 4 inches compared to the bottom. For just cosmetic reasons, my client would like to install a facade along the wall, just to kind of level it out a bit. It'll be kind of a cement, a facade that will be applied to that wall. Again, mostly for aesthetics.
Just like a stucco finish.
Correct. But-
Daniel,
but-
Stuart Peasley here. Did you dig a test pit along that wall?
We have not. No, there's a lot of really nice trees along the top of it. And so I haven't really dug in to see exactly what's back there. I'm making some assumptions about the footing. But again, we can't see any outlet for the water. So I am very confident that there's normally there would be a perforated pipe at the base that would be allowed to gather that water and let it bleed out. And I'm very confident there's nothing like that.
That was my question, is what the profile of the footing is. But yeah, it's all you can do is assume right now.
Yeah, here's again a more of a zoom, a blow up of what the existing wall is. You see the lawn here. Again,
Yeah.
this concrete wall. I'm making some assumptions about the footing, depth unknown. I can see this part, right? I can see that part. That part's right. In the lake.
As far as the stucco finish, I think that really needs to be detailed so that it's going to be a long lasting feature and not not just after 5 years start denigrating.
Yeah, I can come back next month with some more information about that facade that we want to put on. And then again, here's I said at the northeast corner, there's about 25 feet of some boulders along a steep slope, and we want to replace that with some kind of a modular block wall, a segmental wall, whatever you want to call it, whether it's a Versalock or Ready Rock. And so this is kind of a sample detail. I'll just show a couple of pictures of the site real quick.
What are the dimensions of those Versalocks that you show, like 18 by 24 or this 12 by 18?
They're 6 inches high. I think they come in a couple different lengths.
Oh, okay. I know. Yeah. All right.
Show a couple of pictures. Here's kind of my little project narrative that describes, again, what we're proposing to do. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so here's a picture again of the existing wall. It's a fairly old wall. I think it's original to the house. You can see the footing here sticking out. You can see the wall coming up here. The high water mark is pretty obvious. And again, and this was taken in, I think January, maybe December or January, when the lake was quite low. Here's again a better picture. You can really see the tilt, the angle of the wall. Otherwise, the wall is in good condition. Again, it's solid with the footing. There's really no cracks. The wall itself is in good shape. It's just starting to tilt a little bit. And then at the northeast corner of the site, you can see kind of there's a little bit of slope here with some loose rocks. Again, there's a concern of grandchildren getting hurt. They're loose rocks. You can see they're starting to roll into the lake. And so we're proposing to construct, it's about 3 feet tall, a concrete block wall in this area.
I just a thought, and it's really not that significant, but the footing for that retaining wall would extend in deeper than you show. I assume. I think it would probably be more like 4 to 5 to even 6 feet possibly in.
Okay, sure.
But just something to bear in mind.
Otherwise, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, with this one, I don't expect an approval this evening, but I want to hear anyone's concerns or questions.
Yeah,
I would-
Daniel, I have a couple of you for you. This is Bill Rowinski. I had thought you put the size of the weep holes in there, but I didn't see it on the the drawing when you put up the screen. Do you know what size they're?
Let me see what I said. I was specifying them as 8 feet apart. I don't have a diameter specified. I'm certainly open to recommendations. I guess I was envisioning something around a 1/2 inch, 1 inch. We don't want any backfill to go through the hole, but again, whatever the commission would recommend, I think my client would be willing to do.
Yeah, I don't really have a good gauge for that. 1/2 inch might be small. I've seen as many as 3 to 4 inches, but I haven't taken close observations on those. That also presents opportunity for more freezing and cracking.
I wouldn't be surprised that some of those trees, it looks to be about 7 or 8 arborvitae or some sort of conifer trees. The root systems are probably pushing up against that retaining wall. Are those trees going to stay there? Or are they going to pull those out?
Yeah, those will all be totally removed. And I agree that that's definitely a contributing factor is the tree roots there, and we're going to pull those out.
Okay. So Daniel, Bill Rowinski again, back to your site plan. You have a line there that shows your swale. Let me see if I can find the right picture myself. Okay, now I believe it says approximately property line. If you follow the line for the swale, it looks like it will leave the property onto the neighbor's property. Is that true, or?
It's possibly true. I couldn't find any iron rods, any property corners. The property lines that I'm showing could be a few feet off. If the commission wants us to maybe get a letter from the neighbor, I think that would be reasonable.
I would like to see a letter from the neighbor. Other than doing some precise surveying, I don't know any other way around it unless you make a hook right at the end with your swale. That's all I have right now.
All right, well, thank you for your time, everyone. I'll be back next month, hopefully with some answers to your questions. And again, sorry about the microphone issue. That was weird.
No problem. I'll entertain a motion to accept this for consideration.
This is Bill Rowinski. I move that we accept for consideration application number 08-23-04. I have the right one?
Yep.
Okay. 41 Hiawatha Heights, Sugata Mitra retaining walls for consideration.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made by Bill Rowinski, seconded by Marla Butts to accept for consideration application 08-23-04, 41 Hiawatha. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye. Opposed, abstained, so moved. Thank you, Dan.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
good night, Dan.
Okay. Administrative business, Roman numeral 7. We already took care of letter A. Letter B, discussion of Lakeview Drive pond and drainage issue, the Bentleys. Okay.
So I have follow-up correspondence from Deep Dam Safety that the commission had requested that didn't make it into the application documents on online, but I can share that screen right now with you.
Go ahead. Okay.
So it looks like Mr. Bentley needs to submit a request for a determination for its hazard classification.
Right.
Typically, the way they look at it is if the structure were to fail, if it could be a threat to life or property. And I think what they do is they look at the volume of water that could come out and where that water would go. And if it could damage roads, damage buildings. They don't look at flooding land, vacant land, as being a real issue. It's usually when it can hit a structure or can hit a roadway. But I think DEP, dam safety, has to make the determination if it's subject to their jurisdiction. Unfortunately, I had communications with them recently about a dam in Thompson, and they are badly understaffed. And I don't know how long it would take for them to have somebody come out and make a determination. I have had them come out and take a look at a dam in Thompson, which turned out to be low hazard, a Class A or Class A dam, because it flooded into a large wetland and didn't flood a home or a road. I don't know about this one. This is if I understand it correctly, is a dirt road, gravel. And if it were to breach, the berm were to breach, if it could wash out the road or flood a structure downstream or downslope from it, then they might class it as a low I'm not sure how they would class it, whether they would class it as a Class B or B. They might class it as an A. I was surprised at the dam they classed as an A in Thompson. So this doesn't really answer the question as to what the classification is going to be. So they do it during the registration process. So I think he has to register the dam. And then they will determine its hazard classification.
On the last, Stuart Peasley here, on the last, well, almost the last paragraph.
Mhm.
The owner of the farm pond should have submitted a permit need determination request.
Mhm.
I don't understand what that, should have submitted a permit, period. It needs a determination request, probably, is what she's meaning.
No, it should have asked, do I need a permit to do this work? That's what they're saying. That's
The
a
owner
permit
of the
need.
farm should have asked whether they needed a permit.
Yep, before they did the work. Because then DEP would have known what the work was and then have decided whether it was a negligible hazard, a Class A dam, which would fall under the municipal jurisdiction, and the municipality would have the jurisdiction to regulate it.
So basically, the question is, who is the AHJ at this time? Who's the authority having jurisdiction?
They haven't stated theirs because he hasn't applied to DEP for a determination, a permit need determination request.
At that point, then, if they determine that it's municipal, then it comes back to wetlands.
Correct.
He's got to drain that.
I'm not muted.
And if they determine that it's a higher hazard class, then the rest of the work would have to be approved by the state.
Correct.
Right.
They would have the jurisdiction for anything that related to the berm. Work that was outside of it, like drainage work that was done up by Bungay Hill Road, if there was grading work done up there in wetlands or water courses or in an upland reviewary, that would fall within the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Commission. But the berm itself, the thing that
Right.
creates the impoundment, would be subject to their jurisdiction.
Right.
So I think Mr. Bentley needs to be directed to submit a request for a permit need determination for this dam.
So that's a terminology, a
Yeah.
permit need determination. Okay.
Yeah. So, Mr. Bentley, you're here. Are you intending to contact DEP Dam Safety to see whether
This
or
is the
not?
first I've heard of it.
Okay.
I'll need some information as far as how to contact them.
Okay, so there is on their website, if you go to ct.gov and you go to the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection and you do a search for dam safety or dam safety permit need determination, you'll probably find reference to it there. And if you can't find anything there, then contact the Wetlands Office and we'll get that information for you.
Yeah, it's at the
Okay.
top of this page, actually. It's at the top of the page.
Deep dam safety at connecticut.gov.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Let me hang on a second. Let me copy that down.
And Mr. Bentley, I can also forward this email that I
Well,
received to you.
okay, that would be great. I was going to suggest it, but I've got a pen. I could probably write it as well.
Sure.
Yeah, please forward it to me. That'd be good. That way I also have the regulations here. I can kind of click on those if I need to.
Sure. Do you mind, I could do that right now. Do you mind sharing your email address over Zoom?
No, JIM
Okay,
BSMAIL at charter.net.
Jim B's mail at charter.net.
Yeah, or Jim BS Mail at charter.net. When did you come across this for the first time? Obviously, this is the first time I've heard about it.
Yeah, I got this today.
Okay.
So I have limited hours.
I
And
understand.
it came in on Thursday after I had left. So I checked my email before the meeting started, not having a shift in the office yet. And
I realize how thin you're being pushed in many directions.
thank you. But I'll be able to send an email to you right now.
That'd be great. Now, did you actually talk to Anna Laskin?
No, just this email.
Okay. So you haven't been in contact with anybody there?
No, I was just
Aside from the email, I mean, you haven't
Yeah.
talked to anybody?
I just asked about the scope of their jurisdiction,
Okay,
and it was a general question.
okay. So there's no particular person I could contact or talk to?
You should
Maybe-
try Anna Laskin.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
It's her contact information at the bottom. I can't see it on my screen.
hang on. No, I can't either. But if I get the email, I should be all set.
Jim, please let me know if it does pop up, if you've got your email open.
I don't, I've got all these screens with this Zoom in.
Sure.
I just don't want to, I don't want to lose you guys to look at the email, that's all.
Yep. I'm also in the office tomorrow. We can sort it out in the morning.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
That's more than fine.
All right.
Obviously, I've got some questions, but I'm not gonna necessarily try to get them answered tonight anyway, so it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out.
If the commission would allow Ross Ellison to speak, Blake Bungie.
To this particular site or just something in general? Ross?
To this, we have
Okay.
Carl Asimovich, our engineer, available if you had any questions for him.
Yep, go ahead and Dan, make note of any of these questions so that when you talk to them, you can convey this to them, so.
My
Go ahead, Ross. Yep.
statement would be that we have our engineer, Carl Asimovich. I'm sorry, Carl, you have to help me with your last name. I always kill it, but he's available. Yeah. So he's available for the commission if they have any questions for his work for us. Thank you.
So Mark, I'm familiar with Mr. Esimovic. He worked with a lot of dam safety stuff. So Carl, based on your experience as a civil engineer working in dam safety, what hazard classification would you expect Mr. Bentley's dam to be?
The classification in this particular case might go up as high as a B. And the reason for that is because of the infrastructure directly downstream of the embankment. And also the utility lines directly along the side, as I stated in my letter. If the dam should fail, the trees would come over, hit the utility lines, and both of those would elevate the downstream hazard rating.
So given that information, it would be my recommendation to the Lake Association to send correspondence to Anna Laskin, asking her to investigate the construction of this dam and the fact that there has been no determination as to its hazard class and the effect that it could have if it were to fail based upon Mr. Akimovic's report to the Lake Association.
Thank you.
Because Carl, currently, right now, we're trying to figure out whether or not the Wetlands Commission has jurisdiction over this structure or not, and over the impoundment inside it, behind it. So we're kind of, well, I've been told in the past that DEP has to make its determination first before the Wetlands Commission can assume it has jurisdiction. And that's why we're pressing that.
That's correct. In other words, the phone call or the email to Anna would ask what the hazard rating might be based on the reports that are available. And if need be, there is also what they call a pre-application meeting. It's a Zoom meeting. And at that point in time, determination would be made as to what kind of permitting would be required. And typically they would discuss the hazard rating at the same time. And if that should come down to an A or a double A, then it's potentially possible that it would go to the local commission rather than to the dam safety section. But based on the potential problems with downstream roadway and with the utilities running along the same side as the embankment itself, I think that this would be possibly a higher rating.
So when you say higher rating, means it's a little more, there's a little more risk involved?
Yes, indeed. Obviously, if the embankment were to fail and you've got water seeping through the entire embankment, it could be a sloughing failure, erosion failure, trees could come down. Same thing you just discussed a few minutes ago about the wall, the trees behind the wall. In this case, the trees are on the embankment, they're good sized trees. If they come down and take the root base with it, you're gonna have a failure that is going to probably
Catastrophic.
take out the,
Yeah.
it'll take out the road.
So at that point, if it's a higher rating, would the state be taking over the design requirements? Or
Yes.
mitigation requirements?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
So I got a question, Carl. Alternatively, if Mr. Bentley removed the embankment, so there was no berm there anymore, there was just a hole in the ground, would it still class as a dam on the subtending side, the downslope side, do you think?
Well, it's interesting. I'm working on several dam breaches at the moment, and the biggest question would be whatever you're left with, if it can still impound water after you take out a part of the embankment, if there's still a hole left there
Mhm.
that can store water, then it may be possible that it still could fail during a severe storm situation. And in that case, it would still be an impoundment and a dam.
That would
believe-
be only if the water surface elevation was above the elevation of the road, correct?
Yes, I mean, if you took out the embankment and took out the berm between the bottom of the pond that's there now,
Mhm.
then you would still have water coming down because it's still a drainage area. There's obviously water coming into that location. So the only thing that you would have then is you would have potential erosion, but you wouldn't have the impact of an entire embankment sloughing down and eroding into the roadway or trees toppling over the utility wires.
I believe in Anna's email that there is also mention of partial dam or something like that. So there's reference in her email to that type of situation.
Could you repeat that, please?
I believe in Anna's email, she talks about certain conditions, and I think she said something about partial dams also.
Yeah, and typically that would involve a partial removal.
Any barrier which is capable of pounding or controlling water flow.
Right.
Incompletely breached dams.
Yeah, so incompletely breached dams are typically dams that have already been breached to some extent because of a heavy storm. And if there is still a reasonable assumption that it could continue to erode and fail, then it's still an impoundment under their jurisdiction.
Is Russ Ellison still on? I'm just curious whether, with the high downpours we had in July, whether or not there was any empirical data that should be added to the conversation.
No, the water's, go ahead, Carl.
Well, one thing that was evident back in March, and I would say the conditions are probably still the same as they were back then, in that water levels are pretty high this summer. And at that time, there was water seeping throughout the entire embankment. And to be honest with you, there's nothing worse on an embankment of that type than to have seepage coming out of it with trees on it.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
it's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
That's a drain pipe. It's not seepage. It's 10 inches in diameter, and it only drains when the other one is overflowing. It's going into the storm drain. So unless you have a raise in the pond of 8 inches, that second pipe will not discharge over to the west side of the pond. When it does discharge, it does discharge slowly into your gutter, because you don't have any storm drains over there, and slowly runs down the street. Quite frankly, you're getting a hell of a lot more water off the field and from the storm drains on Bungie than you are from that pond. Fact of the matter is, last year, it was empty. When you said it was overflowing, the level of it was 6 feet below the berm. So if you're going to take a look and make stories up, climb up the hill and see where the water's actually coming from before you make up your stories. Because that's where you run into problems. I wasn't gonna bring any of that up. I mean, there were stories about how I've changed the pond. I haven't touched anything since November 8th, 2021. That's not true. There were stories about it's overflowing. That never happened. The water hasn't come within 3 feet of the top of the berm. And I take pictures every time it rains. So please get your facts straight before you're telling stories. That's all I'm saying. I'll go to the DEP, we'll see what they have to say about it, and we'll do the right thing. But cool your jets a little bit. You know, I'm not coming after you guys. So, you know, just take a deep breath and let's see what they've got to say. Does that
Right.
sound fair to you?
Yep, that's.
Thank you.
It's exactly what I would recommend, that, you know, we go ahead with the next step and fill out the form for, to request DEP do a determination. All right. Okay. So Dan, you'll work with Mr. Bentley on that, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good. Okay. We'll move on to the next agenda item.
This one is short. I was invited to check out the footbridge at the fairgrounds that crosses, I think it's Millbrook. And they had some flooding over there. I believe it was the last fair season. And that nearly overtopped this footbridge. And they hope to raise the bridge or replace the bridge and repair some of the embankment. They have a lot of sedimentation in a few different spots along the brook in that area. Gene Pillow authored an analysis and report on their behalf. I received that on site Thursday afternoon when inspecting. So I wasn't able to scan that in time to provide that, but they're not proceeding with a permit application until they consult with some engineer about what might be the most feasible approach to suit their needs.
Bill Rowinski, just for the record, that Ashley and I had had a meeting with them, I think last year, and recommended that they go to the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District and contact Gene, see what resources that they might be able to offer. And so I guess they've completed that part, but sounds like they're recommended to take it further.
FYI, I think we dealt with this about 4 or 5 years ago. There was a erosion problem, siltation problem, and some erosion, and there was some. And it's escaping me exactly what the outcome of that was, but I'd have to go back and look back at the old minutes. But
I don't recall that since I've been on, but
how many years have you been on, Bill?
I'm not totally sure. Maybe 7.
I've been on since 2010, so that's enough time. There was something that came back in some time ago, but it's neither here nor there now. If they're starting all over again and starting from square one.
All right. Moving on to agenda item, administrative business, Roman numeral 7, the new letter E, which will
No,
take on,
no, you missed D. Discussion of Payne Road.
oh, okay,
Well,
sorry.
Didn't we put the other 2 before it?
No, we
No,
put it
we
out.
moved it.
Right. Okay, so Payne Road, the Petro project. Okay.
Is there something new about this?
Yes. Last week I met with Janet Blanchett and John Navarro to talk about the siltation problems that are coming off of Payne Road from the west, the excessive amount of sediment going down into Mr. Petro's property. He's concerned about the channel being filled up with sediment and the amount of flow coming down. The sediment doesn't seem to be coming from the Butts property, Johnny Butts's property on the north side of Payne Road. The majority of the bed load seems to be coming down Payne Road itself. So was discussion about the town coming up with a plan to have a sedimentation basin or a forebay to pick up the heavy material, the bed load, along Payne Road in a basin that would be constructed partially on town property, partially on property that Mr. Petro has control of. Was part of the original subdivision. So Janet Blanchett is going to see if she can use the topography that was given in the original subdivision application that was on in the land record, as opposed to having to go out and do survey work to come up with a design for a sedimentation basin that would collect the bed load that the town could then be capable of maintaining. And looking at several other options for cross culverts farther up on Payne Road and leak offs that go into the Butts agricultural field pasture that he has up there. But it's all in the initiation stages. I'm not sure where that's going to go. You recall that it was after some flood, I think in 2007, when Payne Road washed out and the town went in and put a second pipe in without any authorization from the wetlands agency to fit when they fixed the road. And then a couple of years ago, Mr. Petros wanted to do some cleaning work of his property and cleaning out a pond. And initially he wanted to pipe the water course from his driveway down to the pond. We talked him out of that. And now he's still looking to stop that sediment that's being washed off of Payne Road into his property. So that's pretty much where it stands right now. It's just in the investigation stage. Is that correct, Dan? Is that what you've got? Is that why you put it on the agenda? Just to discuss that?
Yeah, that's basically it. We should be seeing a permit once they've worked from that old subdivision plan to come up with a design.
So is that Janet Blanchett is working on a design, a new analysis?
Yes. Looking to see what she can come up as far as the construction of a sedimentation basin that would be linear along Payne Road, along the property before it drains into the water course that comes out of the Butts' property and under the road and into Mr. Petro's property.
That's good. Hopefully you can make more progress.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so too.
Is the town paying for that?
Yes.
Yep.
For the design work, yes. And they probably will pay for the construction work because it's the town sediment that's going into Mr. Petro's property. That's it for that.
All right. Okay. The new item E, Mike Diorio.
Hi, everyone. How are we doing? Thanks for having me this evening. I just want to say, as the Vice President of the Woodstock Business Association, the last meeting I left to come to these meetings are much more entertaining than the Business Association meetings. Just want to say. I plan on being here next month, whether I have to or not.
I thought you would have been falling, I thought you would have fallen asleep by now.
Yeah. Hey, just so you know, our Explore Woodstock is coming out pretty soon. Everyone will see it at your local stores. So that's being launched. You'll see that little flyer that we have. So that's kind of nice. And we're having a business show in town that's coming up in October. So it's just a little brief on that. But anyways, Dan, do you have my the things I sent you? You could post up.
While he's
Yeah.
doing that, Mr. Diorio, I seem to recall you being before us a couple of years ago for
Cattails.
the work. Oh, cattails?
Cattails, yes.
Yeah, I didn't remember the exact details. That's why I'm questioning.
Yeah, we had to
Okay.
remove some cattails that were just, I think, on the west side, just kind of taking over the whole area. So we had some of those removed, and I'm keeping them under control. And because we want a nice area for people, for the fishermen to use them, because there's a lot of largemouth bass that hang out near the cattails. It's kind of
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, just to recap, the property I own is 14 Lyle Road Extension in Woodstock. I purchased the property in 1979 and had a cottage that was cottage on it. And I think in 2012, Janet designed a new a site plan for me to knock that cottage down and put in a repaired septic system and build a post and beam home, which is what I've accomplished. It finished up in 2017. Since I've been here in 79, the original, there's a map. You want us the site map, Dan, you want to go to that right there. This is the plan that Janet put together. There was a stone wall put in probably 1950 that protected the point, and it's never been touched. It's kind of degraded, and it's really more like a pile of rocks. There's a couple pictures you can see. I don't know, before or after that. Well, keep going, Dan. You can see what it looks like now. And what I'd like to do is just, rather than repair the wall, I just like to add some riprap stone to make it level with the lawn that's there, just to kind of protect this interest. I'm not into putting up stone walls or anything like that. I like the natural effect of, wildlife living there, or fish life, or whatever. So that's one of the things I like to do, is just to add some, do some maintenance to add some stones to just kind of keep it from degrading any more than what it is. And I think Mark has seen the property, has an idea of what we want to do. So that's the first thing around the point. And if you go to the map, I've kind of yellowed the area where the stone wall was around the point. And then there's a swimming area by the dock there. And there's a picture, if you go to that point, Dan, right there, that I've never added any sand at all. Now we have grandchildren and they're still getting leeches every once in a while going out. You can see the sandy area in the front. But past that, it's pretty mucky, but I really didn't care at the time. So I'd like to take out some material there and put it in with some washed beach sand in that area, so our grandkids can enjoy that area without being attacked, whatever. So those are like that type of maintenance I like to do on the property. And Dan didn't think whether I needed a permit or not, that needed to be talked about at this meeting, but it's just a use maintenance type thing I'm planning on doing. I'd like to do anyways. They lower the lake every year, so it goes out to where the beginning of the raft is. So by, I think, Columbus Day weekend, they'll drop it out, and by November, beginning of December, it's wide open to whatever you need to do to access that material, to remove it and bring something in to take care, to make it more a nicety for the family. I've gotten permission from Andre Bassett, and but he's the president of the Lake Association, to do the work. So they have approved the work as well. And I think I sent you, Dan, an email from Andre stating that.
Yep, I did receive that.
Okay.
And we have it also.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, I think the repairing the wall is kind of a pretty straightforward maintenance, enjoyment of property. As far as the beach area, that's maybe where we might have some discussion,
Sure.
unless somebody else has something to say about it right off the top of your head.
Yeah, I'm just, normally I would like that in correspondence rather than an email. I'm having a hard time reading. I see the two Andre Bassett from you, John, but then I don't see Mr.
Yeah.
Bassett.
Dan, did you forward that on or add that in or?
I received it, I think today, so let me turn it into a PDF real quick and then get it up on the screen.
Yeah, no problem. I knew the committee would be asking for that because I think in the past when other association members have asked to do this, they wanted something in writing from the board that it was okay.
Yeah, well, you don't, your property line is from the high water mark, correct?
I couldn't answer that question. I don't know.
All right. So your beach sand is probably going into property you don't own. You're going onto somebody else's property. The way Janet's drawing doesn't show your property boundary going out where the beach area is.
It's going out into the lake. Does the Lake Association own the land all underneath the lake?
We get taxed on it, so we sure do.
So that's why the permission from the Lake Association.
Yeah, Dan has that. He'll post it up there.
Okay. So I'm assuming that Mr. Bassett brought it before the Lake Association, the local Lake Association said, okay, it's not just him as president saying that it's okay.
No. And
Can members see my email screen here?
Yeah,
We've got, yeah, well, it's saying you were viewing your screen, but I'm seeing a picture of the doc.
Okay.
Maybe you need to re-enter that, the new document. Or you mean you need to close the window that has the application and call up or click on there you go.
Oh, you lost it.
There we go. From Andre Bissett.
Yep. Yeah, and it says unanimously supported by the board of directors. The board, that's who they are.
so your plan was to excavate some of the muck and
Yep,
replace it with sand.
would wash beach sand or whatever
Okay,
you
but
request. Yep.
their approval only mentions adding sand. I don't know if that is a particular issue of that
I think
wording or not.
that's probably just his wording. If I stated to Andre, if my original request, it's definitely going to get removed.
So we don't have to render a decision on this tonight because it's
No.
going to need an application submitted. So you would put a copy of that email in with that application along with the photographs. And I think that because you're doing actual work in the water in the beach, it's not your property. So it can't be called, the beach itself can't be called maintenance, enjoyment, or residential home because it's not your property, as best I can tell. But the modification of some stone, you also want to identify how much stone in your
I don't know how much it's based on whoever's going to look at it to figure out how much I need. I'm not the guy to figure that out, I guess.
Well, you
So-
need to have somebody come out and do that then and figure out
Okay.
how.
Yeah,
much you're gonna-
I didn't know if I wanted to do that or could do that unless I got approval for you that you would allow me to do it if we determine how much stone was there. Is that the case or?
Yeah, we've approved revetments before along the
Okay.
water, as long as the Lake Association's okay with it.
Okay, so I need to have a contractor come out and figure out how much stone he's gonna put in. Okay.
And then you apply for, you can apply for an approval for that or use permit as of right. But I think the beach sand, because it's not your property, that can't cover under maintenance enjoyment or residential home because it's not your property. Unless you can
That-
prove it's your property. I mean, if you've got most of those deeds, I would think, run along the high water line of the
Yeah,
lake.
So he needs to break it out into two separate projects. One would probably fall under, use permitted as of right. But the beach sand one is a completely separate project because it's going into the waters that the association has the land under. So
Right.
it should be a
And
separate. Right.
yeah, because it's really kind of a stretch to call it conservation of soil and water for beach sand. I mean, if it was correcting an erosion problem, I think you could say, that's a non-regulated use, but
Right,
still could come in on the application as an application. So I don't know that the beach sand, I'm trying to remember, have we required permits for beach sands in the past? I think we have. What's your recollection?
I know
It
it's
did-
been done here at Quasit in the past. I'm not quite sure by who and when. And
I don't know that we had a situation where we're exchanging one kind of soil for another kind of soil. I mean, I think we've allowed it when the water is lowered in the fall or over the winter.
yeah, that's what happens here every year. They lower it down so people can maintain their maintain what they consider their property, but obviously it's the Lake Association's property.
So Bill, are you suggesting that or Marla, either one of you guys, if he doesn't pull out the muck, if he just puts sand in on top of it, would that be? I don't know,
I don't think he wants to do that because then the muck just migrates up through the sand.
right.
Exactly.
That doesn't last.
Fast enough, it doesn't last. I'd have to go through the past minutes and see if we've got what other ones we had. Because I know we've had some situations where people have wanted to put in beach sand, but I can't remember how we handled it.
I can't either.
Really can't.
Oftentimes, I think it was also with a wall or something else, so it was part of a project.
Did
It was-
Mr. Ellison last year have present an application for some sand? And I think we went with agent approval.
We've had
That sand was outside of the water. That was a beach area that was not in the water, if I recall correctly.
What
That's
about the
what-
one where we had that, the improper use of the pesticide of the, not pest, was it pesticide? Or herbicide?
The herbicides on the trees, yeah,
Yeah,
or on the ground that killed the trees.
yeah, and then the adjacent owner had put a beach in. Anyway,
I don't remember. Anyways, why don't you fill out an application
Just
form?
one or two
Fill out one.
for the beach sand?
Well, because you're not going to be able to do anything until October anyways.
Correct.
So if you submit it as just an application, we can decide at the next meeting, after having done a little research, how we would actually handle that.
So in the application, put in two requests for the wall and the beach sand.
Yep.
Okay.
didn't we also have that one at Quasit that had the retaining wall that was just a year or two ago?
He wanted that was George, I forget his last name. He
Yeah,
wanted his wall
George.
repaired. He actually wanted to extend it out and we said, no, you can't extend it out any farther into the lake than what it already is. So he just repaired the wall.
He
Like,
didn't have beach sand involved?
I don't think so, no. He already
So-
had it.
So I got one from, it's application 062105, Ryan Susi, 178 Duck Hill Road, adding beach sand. If you go to the minutes of July 12th, 2021, that's where, and I believe they applied for a permit. I think, Dan, if you pull that file, 06-21-05, you'll find out what we did with that, because we did accept the application and asked for additional information on that too.
What lake was that, Marla?
I think that was the Witch's Woods he was working on at the time.
Oh,
That's where we had to bring the crane, maybe.
Ooh,
Oh,
so,
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it is Woods Lake, yeah.
If not
Yeah.
that one, then it was one next door or,
No, it was Witches Woods. It says, it was, the correct applicant is Clarence Johnson and Regina Pregana of 72 Indian Spring Road, which is located on Witches Woods Lake. So they had misidentified in the minutes, the address where the property was to be. They gave Ryan Sansucci's address as opposed to the property owner who wanted the work done. So that all got changed. Yeah, so it's on in Witches Woods Lake. So I think that to be consistent, I think an application is appropriate.
So Mike, that'll give you time to get in touch with a contractor.
yeah,
Who can help you get an idea of how much riprap you're gonna need to put in.
okay, as well as the quote to remove
Yep.
a certain amount of material and add certain amount of material beach sand.
Yep, how much cubic yardage you're gonna remove and where you're gonna take it to and
Well-
then the sand, the wash sand.
Doesn't it all go to Mark's house and behind his house?
that's wetlands.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so he has to tell me where he's gonna take it, even if it's out of town. No, that's like, he has to tell me where he's gonna take the sand.
Yeah, if he's,
Right.
if he's gonna take the stuff he excavates out,
Yeah,
Mark.
where's it going?
sand in its
Right.
place, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. Okay, how much riprap and how much excavation and how much sand, and then the letter from Andre's okay with you guys right now?
Yep, and the drawing showing where the features are. You've already got the drawing here. We've seen it, but it should be with part of the application.
You got it.
So,
Okay.
so the excavation should really only be for topsoil, but you would go down to, you're not gonna remove more than the topsoil, I would
I
imagine.
don't think there is any tops. I don't know, what do you
It's
consider?
it's mud in the lake.
It's
Yeah,
mud.
I mean, it's organic, whatever, I can't think of the proper term right now, but it's 9:30 at night.
Organic fill.
Unconsolidated material,
What is it called?
unconsolidated mucky material
Okay,
or mucky soils, unconsolidated mucky soils.
Heat and development.
Unconsolidated. What do you suggest for how much?
You
Well,
have
why
to
don't
see
you,
what- see what's
yeah, you have to
there.
see how deep it is.
that's what
Well-
I'm saying, is you'd have to excavate all the organic type of soil or unconsolidated to
Okay.
where you get to something stable.
So go out to the lake,
Yeah,
walk out into it and dig your feet into the soil, see how deep it goes till you get a gravelly top, and that'll tell you how far down you are.
okay,
And then do it over the area of the area where you want to have your sand put in, and that'll equal your cubic yardage.
perfect. Mark, bring your boots next time you come.
I can loan you my waders, yeah.
Okay, no problem.
You can
Right.
do that, you can do it with a pole,
Okay, yeah, so I push it down until it stops.
yeah.
All right. Well, if it's 3 feet, this project's not happening.
Yeah, right.
I don't think it is, though.
No.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. I'm staying till adjournment, so keep going.
Okey dokey, okay. So, and that was E, so F, the new F is 234 West Quasit Road, was that another one?
Hello, yes, I'm Brian Scagliola. I'm here.
Okay, hi, Brian, yeah.
So I got a call from someone around the lake that a dock was being constructed, and they asked if I had any permits for it. And I said, no, and I'll look into it. I sent a notice of inquiry to the owner of the property, 234 West Quasit Road. And Brian's come to the table for him. And so I'll share the pictures. somebody sent me this. And Brian and I started an email correspondence of what would be necessary to start the permitting process. And I invited him to our meeting to kind of present his side of things and let us know where he's at in getting stuff together for an after the fact permit. This is the work that was completed. And I don't know if the commission would like to weigh in first, or would like Brian to speak.
I would like to ask a couple of questions first before he speaks.
Go ahead,
And-
Marla.
Okay, so this is a permanent structure and it extends out. It looks to be beyond the normal high water line. Did you get permission from the Quasic Lake Association to put a permanent structure into the lake bottom?
No, I was unaware that I had to speak to anybody about it as far as any permits or the lake association. I was told through others that I can go out 25 feet, up to 25 feet.
told you
And
that?
everything, as long as it was less than 25.
Who told you that?
A number of neighbors that have done it.
And Marla, the 25-foot mark is in our bylaws. You cannot build a dock farther than 25 feet out, up to 25 feet. Can't go, that's in our bylaws.
Do your bylaws care whether or not it's a permanent structure or a removable structure?
I don't think it does state that. There are permanent structures out there though in our lake.
And so your bylaws say they can construct it, but that's not the same thing as granting permission.
Correct.
And is there a building permit required for this? Have you checked with the building office to see whether or not you needed to have a building permit?
I did. I spoke with Paul last week and he said the building permit is not needed.
Okay. All right. So then the only thing that you would need a permit for would be for the Wetlands Commission
Right.
for
Okay.
this structure. Because it's a permanent structure. It's not a floating dock, you know, it's attached to the side of the lake that can be removed. It's permanent. And it's a structure and it's an alteration to a water course. So it needs a permit.
Okay.
Need to apply for an after the fact permit. And I noticed that there was some grading work that appeared to be done within 100 feet of the lake. It looked like you've got some land disturbance. I wasn't sure whether or not you had any other plans for any other work. When I looked at the pictures that Dan, when it was under construction, it looked like there had been perhaps some machinery that had come down through there. And have you done it?
Yeah, we had a tree that fell into the lake. So the fella that removed the tree, he had a truck that he brought down to remove it. And we did the contractor, I guess, did speak with you folks as he explained to me, and that a permit wasn't needed to remove that tree.
No, trees can be removed as long as you don't do the grubbing, meaning pull the roots out. You can cut the tree down. That's not a problem.
Yes, okay.
It's when you
But
start
there-
earth moving.
But there is a lot of exposed, unstable
Mhm.
earth there, so.
So any application that you submit for after the fact would also identify any other work that you want to do within 125 feet of the lake, because that's the upland review area from water courses.
Yeah, that's really what we did is really what we want to do.
Okay.
So, yep.
So then you'll just have to submit the after the fact permit application. You're going to need to stabilize the unstable soils that are going to the lake so we don't end up with a lot of sediment in the lake from erosion. So you'll have to come up with a plan to stabilize that land as part of your application.
There's a deck behind the dock, and that's really why we put the deck in, because we we thought that there might be some unstable soil. So behind the dock, we've got the deck there to just to flatten it out so we can make it more usable for us.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture during construction where I see a lot of wood it's not built yet, and I'm seeing a steep slope coming down to the lake, what looks to be a steep slope.
Yes, yes. And the day that they were out there, if I remember right, I think it was pretty wet.
Mhm.
So we were concerned that if we didn't put in that flat piece, that the dirt was gonna come down on us when we were using it. So that's why we put in that flat deck.
Yeah, that's fine, but the contributing drainage area that's coming down off the hill, with anything within 125 feet that's not stable, has to be stabilized with something. It's either got to be seeded and mulched, or you got to put wood chips or something so that the soil doesn't wash down into the lake.
Yep,
Whether
get some vegetation with root systems that'll hold the soil. Right.
Okay. Yeah, that might be the, based on the examples that you were just given, maybe put in some mulch might be a good way for us to do it.
Well, if you got wood chips, just don't put them too thick. You only want them no more than a couple inches deep, because if you put them too thick, when they get hydrated, when they get wet, they can actually slide on a slope if the slope is fairly steep. But if it's a shallow slope, they tend not to. But yeah, if you use wood chips, you want to keep them, only a couple inches deep.
Okay, all right.
But that should be part of your application.
Okay, we'll be sure to include that. Yep.
I don't have anything else.
So would the application need to include, if they put in, concrete footings or whatever, at the base of the piers, the pilings that go into the water, that kind of thing?
That all has to be on the drawing for the
Right.
plan.
Yep.
Yep.
Does this drawing have to be done by a engineer?
No, why would it? They can do the measurements. They can take a tape measure and measure it all up, and they can use the town's the GIS program that they have to locate where the structure is. We have pictures of the structure already built. So I don't see why it would have to be from an engineer. There's no reason to believe that they're on anybody else's property or next to a property boundary line. If they give us the map from the GIS that shows where the deck actually is, and then provides the photographs, which we already have, of the actual built structure, that should be adequate.
How about the contours?
I think somewhere I also included the GIS map with some dimensions. I'm not sure if it was submitted to the commission.
I don't have it in the packet here.
Okay, I'll resubmit that with the application.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do the contours need to be shown?
You could get that off the GIS. Those are 5-foot contours, though.
Well, it just looks from the photograph that there's enough of a slope there.
Yeah, I can try to pick it up off of Map Geo and see if I can find it. But that's really, the town should have the proper GIS. And they don't really, for the 5-foot contours. I don't like those. Dan's working his magic. This is the town's GIS. See, and if it uses that, you can see he can sketch onto, he can print this off and sketch onto this where to scale, because these maps can be produced in scale as to where the dock is. And that would be the as-built drawing. I don't think you need to have a land surveyor for this or an engineer.
Unless erosion becomes a big problem.
Correct. You can see that's a long, steep slope. Look at the change in elevation.
Yeah.
related to that slope, I'm not sure where I should start and stop as far as the wood chips.
Wherever it's disturbed,
Okay,
you know,
Okay.
wherever the material's gotten no vegetation anymore
all
because of
right,
being,
Bare ground, yep.
I
Ground is
understand.
bare vegetation, and you want to put the wood chips down.
Okay,
now, if you use wood chips, remember that you cannot grow grass very easily because the wood chips will strip the nitrogen out of the soil as they rot. And if you want to have grass down by the lake, then I would not put wood chips down. I would seed and mulch the area that you want by the lake if you want it in grass. But if you don't have any intention of doing any mowing or anything like that, then wood chips will be fine.
yeah, I think that would probably be the direction we go, just from a maintenance standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we good on that one? Want to move on with
Could I bring up, just piggyback off what Mike was speaking of earlier, as far as if we wanted to remove some of the muck and then bring in the white beach sand at this point, since I was a listener to what just occurred, if we wanted to do that, could we just simply fill out an application for the September meeting?
Yes, you would include that in.
Okay, we're not sure if we want to do that, but if so, we'd be able to just submit a second application, based on the input that you gave Mike, right?
Well, then you pay the fee the second time.
Right.
How long will the application last? If you wanted to do it next year, would the application stand for how
5
long?
years. 5 years.
Oh, okay. All right, good. That's good to know.
But still gonna have to get permission from the Lake Association to say that they're okay with doing that work, excavating out the unsuitable materials and putting the beach sand in.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah, we have a meeting in September. We can discuss it. I'll let you know.
All right. Very good.
When I measure my muck, I'll come over to your house and measure your muck.
I'd like that. Mike. Sounds great.
everybody's going amok.
Let's not go down that road, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Take care.
Hey, nice meeting you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
All right, well, we're after 9:30. Any of you folks want to move on with some of this other stuff, or can we put this off till next month?
Well, I think we should at least hear the next one, enforcements and
Inspections, okay, yeah.
inspections.
So this was the primary enforcement matter, 234 West Quasit. And fortunately, he got back to me very quickly, and we're working with him. Grenier and Bentley were also enforcement items that we've been on our agenda for a while. Inspections, I've tried to get out to a few sites and see where things are going. A lot of things that we've approved haven't really started yet. They got their permit and they're just holding on work. But that's the general story. I haven't really had much in the way of projects kicking off or having to measure foundations or inspect any erosion and sediment controls. I do get pictures of some of these on some of our easier ones around the lake of installed ENS. I wish I had the opportunity last week to put that together in some kind of visual presentation. The applications that we had on our calendar today came in Wednesday, effectively last week. So it kind of was a last minute crunch to process these. I didn't even really get a good look at them until we had our meeting tonight. But I do hope to eventually give everybody an in-paper wetlands agent report on some of the projects that we've approved over the past year and that have been ongoing. So I think we could cover that real quick. The application, I have my notes still from the past meeting, and I haven't really had the chance to incorporate them. But I can share the application that we discussed and reiterate what the changes that we were going to make are. But I think it's probably better just to have a clean edited copy for you to review rather than cover that old ground.
Dan, on the previous topic of the inspections,
Yes.
I used to like going out doing field visits, site visits. If you need any help with that, I'm not always available, but interested. So let me know if you could use a hand with that.
Absolutely. I think I'll take you up on that. There's a lot of ground to cover in town, and there's a lot of loose threads out there still. That just kind of the nature of the hours devoted to the position it's tough to cover. And so I'll reach out to you this week in the office, and we'll figure out how to proceed there.
Sure.
Thanks, Stu.
You're welcome.
And
Well, Mark, I think we can put off the IWWA regulations to next meeting. I haven't even looked at them, but I do think we need to do the personnel update because there's some changes coming down, and I think the commission should be aware of them.
So Marla and I both work, as a lot of you know, in Thompson, in the same office. She's the wetlands agent. I'm the conservation agent. From the start, we've talked about some kind of transition since I had previous time in as a wetlands agent in another town, that possibly when Marla decided to retire from town service, that I had the skills to add more to my portfolio in Thompson. We're getting closer to that ultimate transition. And the town of Thompson has offered me the full-time position at 32 hours. And I presently work 20 at Thompson and 10 for the town of Woodstock. I can still carry Woodstock's wetlands agency portfolio and my overall hourly my work for the time being, but eventually there might need to be the transfer of duties in Woodstock. And I'd like to see this commission through our reg updates, our application updates. I think it'll also be more manageable as winter hits, and we hopefully just see a decrease in the volume of the applications we're reviewing. That I'll be able to do the 8 to 10 hours here problem free in the short term. But ultimately, they'll probably need to find a new wetlands agent in 2024 with probably certainty. But that also is there's an opportunity there with our zoning services being subcontracted, that they could create a full-time position for a land use office to serve this board. Marla, I don't know if you want to jump in anywhere.
So the goal is that I will exit as a town employee in Thompson sometime in mid-September. I will plan on working under a personal services contract for them for a period of time to get the regulations revised and updated, as well as finish some records disposal activities, as well as providing a transfer of knowledge from myself to Dan, so that he's not just walking in blindsided. He'll see how everything is organized and how because the processes between Thompson and Woodstock are different. The flavors of the town are different. Thompson is an old mill town, and is going through a push to big time development. They're trying to get that old mill rehabilitated in the center of town. They've changed all their zoning regs and their subdivision regs to try to encourage development in the town. Woodstock is not at that place. Woodstock was an agricultural community, and I don't foresee Woodstock going in the direction that Thompson's going in. Because of that, Thompson also had its FEMA mapping changed, and so they've had to upgrade their FEMA ordinance, which is going to be substantial change. Woodstock will get the same thing probably in a couple of years' time, because half of Woodstock is in the Quinnebog River watershed and half of it's in the Shetucket. And FEMA was only doing the Quinnebog River watershed, and the next one they're doing is the Shetucket. And when that happens, there's going to be changes in Woodstock, and the Woodstock regs are going to have to reflect the changes in the FEMA requirements. Right now, it's Thompson that's doing it. So that's part of the reason why I'll work under a personal services contract to try to get their regulations in sync with FEMA and new fee structure. So if we do that first, and if I do that first in Thompson, it'll be a lot easier to do it, help us out in Woodstock to generate new regs and fee structure. So that's kind of the way it's going at this point in time. So there's going to be a transition time. And that's probably why Dan will have some capability of giving some support still to Woodstock for a period of time, but that won't last forever. So that's where we're going. So when the budget time comes around again, I think we're going to have to press a lot harder to get funding for staffing, because the price that being paid by the little towns is not enough. I did a survey of salaries, and I was recommending, $33 an hour, and that's still somewhat low for the skill sets that you want to have for the wetlands agent. So down the road, that's just like where we're going. And I don't have anything else because I'm pretty exhausted from tonight because I haven't eaten dinner yet. So.
Oh my God. Blood sugar's low.
Yeah, exactly. When I take that glass of wine, it's going to hit me like a rock.
You go.
I will move to adjourn then, Bill Rowinski.
I
Second,
second. Oh, Stu gets it. I don't.
Motion's been made by Bill Rowinski, seconded by Stuart Peasley to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, so moved. At 9:49, according to my computer clock.
Bye-bye.
All right,
Have a good
bye.
one,
Take
everyone.
care.
Thank you, Dottie.
Thank you.